Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Monza. It is the finale Mondiale weekend, the conclusion of a phenomenal Ferrari Challenge season in 2018. And regrettably, Monza is fairly wet at the moment. It's not raining currently, but the previous two races that have been on track for the Asia Pacific and North American series of Ferrari Challenge have certainly had torrid weather conditions to contend with. And as you can see, as we look at it now, the track definitely looks wet. That's for sure. 5.793 kilometers, some 11 turns, 7 of them right-handers, 4 of them are left-handers. It is the Temple of Speed. And races.ferrari.com is the website where you can find out all the information that you could possibly want to know about the Ferrari Challenge, and in particular this extraordinary event, the Finale Mondiale, where we bring together the 3 regions of the Ferrari Challenge. It'll be 4 next season, but 3 for this season, Asia Pacific, North America, and also Europe. And of course, bring all our Competizione GT drivers and the F1 Clienti. And this is the approach. And Manuela already losing the car. Alongside me is world champion racing driver James Collado. Delighted to have you alongside us. Now, I was talking to Tommy Lindroth, who was making his way out onto the track, James. And he said, I'm going on slicks. And I said, you must need your bumps felt, friend, because I wouldn't. Would you, James?
I don't know. It doesn't look very slickish, does it, out there? It's a bit wet. I don't know. I guess if he thinks it's going to dry out towards the end of the race, maybe. But it's only 30 minutes. I think, personally, I'd be on the wet tyres because the likeliness of a safety car, the tyres losing temperature and all that sort of stuff is... it's probably more effective, so yeah.
And presumably, James, you might be able to tiptoe the car on the racing line.
Tiptoe is the word, yeah.
The minute you go off that racing line.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to make a mistake here, especially in the rain. It's like ice. And, I mean, to be safe, I'd probably choose the wets and just drop the pressures out of it a little bit. But you never know.
No, okay, well, we'll wait with interest. I'm not convinced Tommy will start the race on slicks. He may have gone to the track on slick tyres, but I think the installation lap may have made him think, do you know what, actually I might have made an error here.
Yeah, I might change.
Yeah, I think so. This is an extraordinary circuit, such a historic venue, James, and it is called the Temple of Speed, but for very, very good reason. It's such a quick track. You know, it has to be treated with a bit of respect, doesn't it, as well?
It does, yeah. It's easy to go off, especially Ascari. It's blind as you turn in, and obviously you're approaching really, really high speeds, close to places like Le Mans, so it's not far off. Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favourite tracks. It's really high speed, like you say, even the corners. And yeah, it's quite low grip, especially in these conditions, but it's one that I really love, especially with all these fans here and things. It's a great atmosphere.
And this weekend, the Finale Mondiale weekend, of course, for as long as you have been an official Ferrari driver, you know, it is something very, very special indeed, isn't it?
It's incredible, yeah. And, you know, every time we come to Italy, we were in Mugello last year, but it's just a passion. So, yeah, it's great.
Well, that heli shot then, the Parabolica turn here at Monza. It is the Finale Mondiale weekend, and you can see quite low cloud. You can just see the mountains at the back of or at the top of the picture there. Certainly not raining at the moment, but it has been raining extensively. And as James Collado has said alongside me, very much still a wet track. So what a season it's been for the Ferrari Challenge 2018. We've been to some phenomenal venues. We've seen some great racing. Let's have a recap. What a season it has been, and we reach the conclusion, the Finale Mondiale weekend, and the cars making their way to the grid. Now, in the last race, we had a safety car start. Whether we will get that this time around, race control yet to make the decision. The Monza Monza track has remained the only true temple of speed in Europe. Long, 5,793 metres, characterised by 4 turns, 2 chicanes and 1 system of S's. When the driver reaches the first chicane, he usually jumps over the curves to find the fastest trajectory. For this reason, the work of the suspension on the 488 Challenge is crucial. The tyre remains adherent to the track, thus maximising grip, encouraging drivability and driving precision in the most technical and difficult sections. One of the characteristics of Monza are the hard braking areas. The 488 Challenge's carbo-ceramic discs are able to reach 600 degrees in temperature, and that ensures a high braking power and an excellent sensitivity in the sections with the greatest deceleration. The circuit makes it possible to obtain very high average speeds, and this is why power plays a key role. The Ferrari V8 engine with double turbo finds here the best conditions to express full torque and power, something that has always been one of the distinctive values of the Ferrari 488 Challenge car. Monza, 5.793 kilometres. And all the drivers champing at the bit, ready to get going into their race 1 of the weekend.
My name is Tani Hanna. I am from Lebanon. I am participating this year in the 2018 Ferrari Challenge Series in Asia and some races also in Europe. I have already closed my championship in Singapore this year, and I'm already the Asia Pacific champion for the Shell category. Ferrari Challenge Series for me started in 2013 in full season, and then 2014 also I did the full season. 2015, 16, 17 I was very busy with work, so I broke off a little bit. And now 2018 I'm doing again a full season in Asia and some races in Europe. It has always been very pleasant for me to take part of this series. This series is very particular because it brings all the Ferraristi together from all around the world. It's not only about racing, it's also about the passion for Ferrari. And it's quite a very pleasant atmosphere because we make a lot of friends. Okay, sometimes we have a little bit of argument, but with driver, which is naturally on the racing circuit, but we overcome this situation all the time and we come closer as friends. And I enjoy myself very much racing the Ferrari Challenge, and hope to see myself in there for many years to come. Today we are in Monza, and Monza is a very particular track. Everybody would love to race in Monza, and most race drivers around the world will be really keen to be here today. We're very lucky to be here today. And this circuit is quite challenging, especially on car ability and brake. It relies a lot on brake, so you have to really trust and be confident on your braking capability of the car. And if you can brake a couple of places really hard, you will make a lot of time, and then you can really gain a lot in lap time. The magic of the Finale Mondiale. Finale Mondiale is full of emotion, it's full of fun and a lot of activity going around. It brings everybody from Ferrari from around the world. It's just a great event that you can see everyone from Ferrari Challenge driver to GT3 driver to Formula 1 driver. The whole administration of Ferrari is here, and that's what makes it a great event. Enjoy the Finale Mondiale.
Great to hear from Tani Hanna, who was on the top step of the podium in his Asia-Pacific race earlier on today. It was really interesting, James. He was saying that you make a lot of friends and the camaraderie is fantastic. He said, but just now and again we have an argument.
Well, yeah, not many racing drivers are that honest these days.
Oh dear, oh dear. Now this man, Niklas Nielsen, you would have said is a shoe-in for pole position, but he hasn't managed to achieve that in this race. That honour going to Björn Grossman. Here's the grid in full then. Generally speaking, the Trofeo Pirelli drivers and the Shell drivers run and drive in separate races, but for the Finale Mondiali, we put them all together. But as you can see, the first 3 rows are contained with Trofeo Pirelli drivers, though Fabian Volvend is now one of those and has done very well to be going from P4 on the grid. Before we see the first of the Shell drivers going from P10, Christoph Herney, and Eric Prenot is going from P12. Chris Froggatt, Sam Smith, Alessandro Vezzoni, Henry Hassid making up the rest of those 3 rows from row 4 through to row 6. And we bring the rest of the grid in graphics for you with Sean Hudspeth going from P13, then Christian Kinch, Manuel Gosner, Jack Brown, Martin Nelson, and Thomas O'Rourke will be going from P18 on the grid, ahead of Thomas Gosner, Eric Chung, Ingvar Madsen, Vincenzo Podoliccio, Vladimir Hladek, and Giuseppe Ramelli, ahead of Corinna Gosner, Guy Four, Murat Kuhadaroglu, Rick Lovett, and Ernst Kirschmeyer. It's a big, big grid of cars, it has to be said, that's going to do battle out here on the Mount Monza circuit. And interestingly, James, what's your take on this? Because, of course, normally the Trofeo Pirelli drivers and the Copa Shell drivers, Copa Shell mostly made up of gentlemen drivers, of course, they race in separate races, but for the Finale Mondiali weekend, you put them all together. Now, the pace deficit between the 2 categories actually is very, very small, but all of a sudden, that racing track is going to become a very, very busy place indeed.
I was just thinking, 29 cars going into turn 1. We've got some maybe starting from the pit lane there, but yeah, I think it's always difficult turn 1 in Monza, no matter what you're driving.
Can I interject? Yeah. Because you're only seeing the first page of the title screen. There's more than 29, my mate.
Oh, wow. Oh, we're going to see some action then, I reckon.
Stand by. We're going to talk to our pole sitter now.
Really happy for my pole position here in Monza. It's a wonderful track, high speed. So I want to thank my team, Octane 126, for all they have done to me. Happy to have the race here.
So we hear from Björn Grossman then, as the cars are released on their formation lap. Now, interestingly, a number of cars are lined up in the pit lane. Fabian Volvend is one of those, and Nico Spalak, who's our producer, is checking out on who's in that pit lane. Don't know quite why they're starting from the pit lane, if I'm honest with you, but Björn Grossman, who we heard from, is going from P1. Christoph Herney already has had an off. Now, that's indicative of the conditions, James, isn't it?
Yeah, he might be on slicks. I don't know. It's tricky, obviously it's tricky out there, cold tyres and stuff. It's not a common thing to make mistakes when you're on an outlap trying to get temperature, but there's a lot of cars there.
I mean, you know, when you're going to the, you know, this is the starting lineup, and I have to be honest, this formation lap, I did think that we might start the race behind the safety car, as we did in the Asia Pacific race just a few moments ago. There you can see there's a number of cars that are starting from the pit lane. I think you've got certainly Fabian Volvend there, and also Rick Lovett. Those are the first 2 cars that I can identify. Oh, and looks like Alessandro Vezzoni has had an off as well. What you were saying is that, generally speaking, on a formation lap, of course, you're trying to be aggressive, trying to generate some temperature into the tyres, but you can soon overcook it, can't you?
Yeah, it's easy. I've done it once before.
Never.
Yeah, it's easily done. I was young, but I'm old now. But no, especially in these conditions, and I mean, I can only imagine some of them are on slicks. So
that's a real roll of the dice, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. I mean, we'll have to see if they can gain some temperature, and sometimes the wets can, you know, chew up, even in greasy conditions. So sometimes it's actually better to fight the first few laps on slicks, probably lose time and then hope that it's going to come back again.
Whose decision is it, James? But when you get a situation like that where it's perhaps a bit iffy and it might be worth rolling the dice, is it you as the driver, or is it team principal engineer would say to you, look, James, we've got to have a go at this, or, you know, how much input do you have in that decision?
I mean, there's always a discussion, but 99% of the time it's the driver.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I was experienced now, but it's, for me, you always get a feel for it, even when you leave the pit lane to go to the grid.
Yes.
I always try and think of half an hour later. I try and think of what could go wrong, what could go right, and ultimately I make a decision.
Well, Christian Birchinger is one of the team principals from Octane 126. He sees two of his drivers in the pit lane. It is the rolling start for the European race for Ferrari Challenge as the sky begins to darken. We'll let the music build the anticipation and the excitement for race one of the weekend. So the lights go green. Let's go racing then. It is the first race for Ferrari Challenge Europe Series. Both Trofeo Pirelli and Copa Shell cars then head towards the chicane for the first time of asking. So David Fuminelli and Niklas Nielsen, because Björn Grossman, for whatever reason, not on the grid. Is he starting from the pit lane? May have been one of those Octane 126 cars. I thought it was Rick Lovett and Fabian Volvend. Eric Prinot gets squeezed out. And the cars do, thankfully, all make it through the first chicane without anyone going off, which I have to say is remarkable, and well done to all the drivers. Niklas Nielsen now beginning to stretch his legs. He's been an absolute wonder star in the Ferrari Challenge this season. He didn't put the car on pole position, but with Björn Grossman not taking his place up on the grid, of course, that's really given him an advantage with David Fuminelli really dropping back down the order. It's Jens Liebhauser who's P2. Louis Pret is P3. Chris Froggatt, who's already sealed the AM Championship and did so some time ago, bit like Niklas Nielsen winning the Pro Championship. Chris Froggatt is P4. Then it's David Fuminelli P5, and the returning Sam Smith is P6. So I'd like to think that the drivers are all being quite sensible in this first few meters of this track. There is Björn Grossman in car number 84 then, so clearly started from the pit lane. That's Rick Lovett's car, another one of the Octane 126 drivers. Interesting how Björn Grossman, Fabian Volvend and Rick Lovett all starting from the pit lane. Björn Grossman had put the car on pole position. Don't understand. We're going to have to look into that. Christoph Herney, who we saw going off on the installation lap earlier on, and there is Eric Prinot then under some pressure there. What we've done here is we've put the two categories together, and I have to say, James, I did wonder whether the first chicane may be a melting pot of all things Ferrari, but to be fair, it wasn't.
It wasn't. No, they all were very respectful. No incidents as of yet. So no, it's like I said before, it's really difficult just to make it around the first corner, but it seems that all the cars are intact. But you can see they're all moving around. They're all losing the rear end, as marked there. So yeah, difficult conditions. You can just see them moving a lot under the braking. So exciting stuff. A lot of curb there.
It's more than a lot of curb, isn't it? Louis Pret, of course, son of Philippe Pret, who is an Asia-Pacific star, and Louis Pret is P3. Niklas Nielsen leading the race from Jens Liebhauser. And the best of the AM drivers is Chris Froggatt, ahead of Jack Brown and Martin Nelson. And the best of the Shell drivers is Christoph Herney, followed by Christian Kinch and Eric Chung. So, track conditions challenging. And, that's an interesting line through there, James.
I think I just learned something.
Actually made it look quite smooth, didn't he?
Can't wait to try that next time I'm here.
Well, alongside me, Nico may be out for a hot lap with you. That might be a good chance for you to try it, James.
I'm not sure in a road car.
So Louis Pret then gains a few meters on Jens Liebhauser. Oh, is that Alessandro Vezzoni? Goodness me.
That's not the ideal place to speed.
It's not, actually. No. It's very good avoidance by everybody, wasn't it? That was the car of Giuseppe Ramelli. Heart-stopping moment, that one, that's for sure. So Louis Prat then P3 at the moment, despite taking some unorthodox lines and really hammering the suspension that we talked about earlier on in the programme. I mean, to be fair, these 488 cars have been a phenomenal challenge car, and they do take some punishment, don't they?
Clearly, yeah. I mean, that was impressive, and to be able to do that, the curbs are normally a lot slippier, less grip than the track itself. So to be able to have the confidence just to go straight over it and still manage to come out as fast is pretty impressive in my eyes. It's very interesting.
We're not sure what drivers are on wet weather tyres, what drivers are on slick tyres, and I'm just looking at the timing screen to see if that is giving me any indication, because there are some that are significantly slower than others, which would lend itself to perhaps that thought. Fastest lap comes from Niklas Nielsen. He, of course, is leading the race from Jens Liebhauser and really stretching his legs over Jens Liebhauser as well. Liebhauser himself is under pressure from Louis Prat, so Niklas Nielsen's got the real advantage here. And here is a replay of the start. So Niklas Nielsen then, and David Fuminelli, who of course is very, very local to this Monza circuit. It's almost in his back garden.
Yeah, I think he's on slicks.
Yeah.
It looks like he's done a 2:15 the last lap, and 2:01 is the fastest from Nielsen, so quite a big difference there.
Interestingly, car number 80 is being warned with regards to track limits, James.
What a surprise.
So, Louis Prat then, who really is hammering on the gearbox of Jens Liebhauser, is going to have to try and keep it within the white lines if he possibly can. Track conditions, of course, utterly critical. And I often make the point that you wouldn't exceed the track limits if it was a wall, and there are many occasions when there are walls.
I know, it's so difficult as a racing driver though. All you want to do is go as fast as you can, and when you know there's that little bit of extra and you think, can I get away with it? Will they see it on the camera? You just kind of want to do it anyway. But I mean, the rule is the rule, like you said. You wouldn't be able to do that in places like Macau, Monaco, things like that. So obviously keeping him within the white line is key.
And in fairness, James, you have been both sides of it. You've been out there trying to gain that extra few centimetres.
Yeah.
You've also, this year, been in race control, and you see what is available to you in terms of footage. I mean, they've got cameras everywhere, haven't they?
They have, yeah, and you can't really get away with much.
This is Louis Prat setting up an overtake now on Jens Liebhauser, because it is off the parabolica. If your exit is right, then you can make a move going into that first chicane. But Jens Liebhauser is not, well, why would he yield? He's going to still be ahead of Louis Prat, but he's got to scrub the speed off, hasn't he? Which he does. And Louis Prat then has to settle behind Jens Liebhauser, but he is really pushing him, that's for sure. Jens Liebhauser and Louis Prat then fighting over that P2 place in the Trofeo Pirelli Pro class of cars that we're watching at the moment. Incidentally, Niklas Nielsen is 5.677 seconds up the road. It's an extraordinary margin he has already after only 7 minutes of racing. So Niklas Nielsen really, there he goes again, James.
That's mega. I love that.
What is the rule? You get warned twice, don't you?
I think so, yeah. It's different for different series and things, but I mean, you basically get 2 warning flags, and then obviously if you continue to take the mick, they'll put the black flag out. But it's difficult to actually see whether he's over the white, because the track is the white line. So to me, it looks like he's within the track limits, but maybe he did it somewhere else.
He could have done.
He could have done it somewhere else.
Yes.
Maybe it was a Ascari or something. But
it looks super smooth as well, the way he does it.
Yeah, it does. You can see them all moving over now to the inside of the track, just trying to cool their tyres down. So they're clearly on wets there. That was definitely a track limit, but.
And that's a problem, isn't it? On wet tyres, when the track is drying, you've got to try and keep them in their window of operation.
Exactly. As soon as they get too hot, it's like driving on ice.
Okay.
So keeping them as cool as possible is key, really. And you can see they're all. I mean, these are guys having a battle, but they all seem to be veering over on the straights.
So we can only assume then that this is Eric Prinot then, who gets launched. Well, first of all, it was Alexander Nussbaumer and Alessandro Vezzoni. And I have to be honest, I think Eric Prinot was on the receiving end then of an outbreak situation, wasn't he? So here comes Liebhauser, and once again, Louis Prat then, who we already can advise you is being warned with regards to track limits. And Jens Liebhauser under pressure from Louis Pret. Now, if Jens Liebhauser comes out ahead, now he has, in that situation, he hasn't gained anything. Well, he has gained, but he hasn't moved up a place, has he?
Well, there's two issues there. There was a double yellow flag, so he's supposed to be slowing down, but obviously he's gained a bit of an advantage. So let's hope he doesn't get any sort of telling off for that. But
he goes again. No, he's just through that. And he does it lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, he does. He's obviously...
He's consistent.
He's consistently, yeah.
And Jens Liebhauser is really having to battle with him. Already we've got a back-marking car. I think that's the car of Tommaso Rocca. The number 97 car, indeed, it is Tommaso Rocca from Rosso Corsa Racing, who's dropped way down the order. Just to round up, just before we get into more activity and action, I feel sure, the top three are all Trofeo Pirelli Pro drivers. That's Nielsen, Liebhauser and Pret at the moment. Then the best of the AMs is Chris Froggatt, as Jens Liebhauser lost the back end of the car then. The leader in the Shells is Christoph Herney, and the leader in the Shell AM is Murat Kuhadaroglu. So there's Niklas Nielsen. Just wondered then in the light of that car whether the rain was beginning to come down again, but I just think it was the reaction of the light on our camera. So into Parabolica. Liebhauser taking a very different line there on the entry to the Parabolica to that of Louis Pret. I think Louis Pret is as close this time to be able to have a go going into the first chicane. He's dropped back a couple of car lengths, I would suggest. And we've still got that yellow flag at turn 1. Now, when you have a yellow flag like that, clearly what you can't do is once again.
It's a little bit naughty because you can have marshals on track to see clearing the debris and stuff, and the last thing they want to see is
488
coming towards them, who's outbrake themselves. But he's gained quite a bit there as well. Can you see he's probably gained about a second? So that is a little bit naughty.
Well, we think that will be probably looked at. Will he also get warned about not having his lights on because it is dimming, so. Isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's looking out the window from our box. It's pretty dark, so it's always deceiving on the camera. It always looks lighter, but from our view, it's pretty dark. So what they normally do is just tell him over race control to just flick the switch and turn them on. So.
Right. Car number 47 is being told must respect track limits. Now, that's not who we thought it was. That's Henry Hassid. Ironically, he was the only one during qualifying that was warned with regards to track limits. So Henry Hassid is running down the order a bit, to be fair. But the one we're interested in is whether Jens Liebhauser will be looked at by race control. And it's not just one person in race control, James, is it? There's a number of spotters there to see things because you've only got one pair of eyes. You can't be everywhere, can you?
There's a lot of people. You've got people looking at the cameras. You've got, decision makers. You've got some of the drivers all trying to make the right decision. So.
Henry Hassid currently running P14 in the race overall. There is the back-marking Rick Lovett that Jens Liebhauser has just got by. Rick Lovett was one of those drivers that started from the pit lane as we go onto the pit wall. And the cars around the Parabolica. The yellow flag has been lifted now. Somebody dives into the pit lane. Don't know whether that was Alexander Nussbaumer or whether... No, it was Rick Lovett, actually, that back-marking car that... Jens Liebhauser had just got past. There is our race leader, Niklas Nielsen, whose lead has dropped a little bit. It's down to 4.3 seconds. So I just wonder now, appreciate that he's had back-marking cars to get past as well, James, but I wonder as the track is beginning to dry, whether those tyres are beginning to go off a little.
Could well be, but you can see the time gained by Liebhauser was sector 1. So, yeah, I mean, he might have pushed too early, he might have higher pressures, you never know, but I think the key for all the drivers now is just to try and really keep these tyres alive, try and keep them as cool as possible, not overdrive. It's really easy to overdrive in these situations. So
because we're only at half distance. Leader in the Shell driver's class is Christoph Ernie in the number 162 car, a race winner this season. And Christoph Ernie then, and you could just see the back end of the car behind him, the back end of that car stepping out there, one of the Formula Racing cars. He's ahead of Eric Chung, who is the guy that we saw the back end step out of, and Christian Kinch, who is P3. So Christoph Ernie, Eric Chung, and then it is Christian Kinch, who is P3. So with 16 and a bit minutes remaining, and there you can see Eric Chung getting past one of those back-marking cars, of which there are a number in this race. It's a very, very busy racetrack with an awful lot to contend with. And I just wonder, James, with half race distance, if any driver was brave enough to go out there on slick tyres with the track now drying just a little bit more, surely that 15 minutes isn't going to be enough for them to make up what they've lost.
No, well, like I said before, Fuminelli, I'm pretty sure he's on slicks and is almost 1 minute behind Nielsen. So, I mean, I can't do the math now, but you'd need a good chunk of seconds per lap to try and catch up. And I just don't think it's possible. It won't happen. He's still lapping 4 or 5 seconds off the pace. So
safety car would be handy for him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be ideal. Yeah, but even so, I still think there's enough grip.
No, okay. James Collado alongside us, delighted to have the specialist to be able to talk about things. In then is Rick Lovett then. We saw him retire the 112 car. We saw the Octane 126 car. 3 Octane 126 cars starting from the pit lane, and Rick Lovett, the Canadian racer, is in, and his car has been retired. Now here is Manuela Gosner, who I just think is about to be collected by Christian Overgaard in the number 45 car, who goes for a pirouette through the grass, back onto the tarmac again, almost pointing into the wrong direction. But again there, it's braking points, James, isn't it? You've got to get it absolutely right. And when you're in traffic and perhaps you're trying to overtake as well, it's that judgment that you make. You have a split second, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, he did well there to avoid the contact, but it's difficult when you've got, all these cars have got ABS.
Sure.
And therefore, if someone, you tend to find the majority will brake in a similar position because they kind of rely on the ABS to stop. So if you were to brake a couple of meters later than the other one, then the ABS is working the same on both cars, and therefore you can't do anything about not stopping to hit them. So the only way to avoid them is to go left or right.
Okay.
So it's almost more difficult when you've got ABS in these conditions because you can't really gain any advantage in that respect. But maybe I'm getting a bit too complex there. I don't know.
Not at all. We like to hear it. We like to hear it. So Jens Liebhauser is having to make his way past all these back-marking cars, and Thomas Gosner, dad of Manuela Gosner, who of course just received a touch, didn't she, earlier on. You can now see the rear is beginning to flap there. And would that have any effect, James?
Probably not, but maybe it's somewhere like here at Monza, we've got high speed. You might feel a vibration, a flutter on the floor, something like that.
Okay.
Could have a bit more drag. We've got an unhappy...
Thomas O'Rourke.
Yeah, he's not happy. But
I suspect he ain't going to be the only one. Do you know what I find absolutely amazing? And that is that Louis Pret, who we were talking about just a few moments ago, there is not one message on the timing screen with regards to Louis Pret.
No,
so,
that's true. No.
James, there you are. It's I'm not going to say, how dare I, a lesson for you, but clearly you could get away with that there.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, look at the damage on the back end of the Eric Prinot car as well. So the 181 car has received some damage. So the order is really getting mixed up now because we've got a lot of cars faster than a lot of other cars at the moment. And you can see there that the number 84 car there of Björn Grossman, was it Fabian Volvend in the 81 car? Goodness only knows. So much going on. There's Vladimir Hladik. And Vladimir Hladik is being chased down by the car of... was the 199 car, I'm sure, of Ingvar Madsen. There's Niklas Nielsen, who's the leader of the race, nearly 8 seconds to the good. And Niklas Nielsen is going to experience the traffic ahead of him in just a moment's time. That's Vladimir Hladik is one of those cars. So there is Niklas Nielsen. This is on the long stretch behind the paddock, heading in towards the Parabolica, I think, as Niklas Nielsen in the Formula Racing 488, then into the Parabolica now. It's really interesting, this Parabolica turn, James. You look at it and there are more than one line that you can use, and I genuinely believe it's how you enter Parabolica and exit Parabolica. You can set yourself up for an overtake opportunity down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, you can either... There's two ways about it, like you said, really. You can either carry a lot of minimum on the inside and therefore probably lose on the exit, or you can go right round the outside and gain a better exit. But it also depends where cars are. I mean, if you're behind a car, you almost want to do the opposite. You know, try and get a clean run, clean air.
Now here is Niklas Nielsen, who of course is trying to get past cars that are effectively, they're in their own race, but they are still back marking. Now you of course, as the hugest successful endurance racer, that's something that you come across, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Le Mans for me is always, I mean, it's a battle of absolute incredible wits that you have to have about you when you've got slower cars on track.
It's mentally, especially places like Le Mans, it's mentally exhausting because
Sure.
not only are you worried about keeping it clean and stuff, you're not sure whether they're seeing you, and you're constantly judging where these amateur drivers go in Le Mans. So it's really, really difficult. At the same time, we've got quicker cars, so they're coming past us. So yeah, it's mentally draining and it is difficult, but obviously we've got all the blue flags and things. Not everyone respects them, but yeah.
And that actually is the measure, isn't it, of a very rounded racing driver. And you know, you do have to respect things like that. This is the number 92 car of Sam Smith, who's missed a big chunk of the season, regrettably, but Sam Smith is back, and delighted to see Sam Smith back in the car again. He's currently P12 in the race, but he's P6 in the Trofeo Pirelli Pro class. He's chasing down David Fuminelli, who we're pretty sure is on slick tyres. There is the number 2 car of David Fuminelli, getting a bit wayward the front end of the car as the suspension compresses under braking, and Sam Smith trying to chase him down. And just behind Sam Smith is the AM driver John Dillon. A very good show from John Dillon, actually, who's P4 in the AM classification at the moment for the Trofeo Pirelli drivers. So John Dillon, another British driver, but racing for the Formula Racing team. Sam Smith, of course, engineered by the Barron Motorsport team, which is principled by Philippe Barron, a former multi-Ferrari Challenge champion. And in terms of a team principle, James, having a driver that's been out there, done that, won it, worn the T-shirt, does that make him a good team principal because he knows what a driver is having to go through? Yeah,
of course. I mean, it's, experience is everything, and he can give good advice. He's been there, he's done that, so, you know, it's important.
There is Laurent Demouse, another one of the British registered drivers in car number 145. Laurent Demouse having a very good time of it as well, because he is leading the Shell AM classification, and I can tell you that he would be the happiest man. To take a podium this weekend would be a big achievement for Laurent Demouse. For him to be on the top step of the podium, well, he would be beyond happy. Of course, born just a stone's throw away from Spa-Francorchamps, Belgian by birth, and he actually at the event at Belgium earlier at Spa-Francorchamps earlier in the season, he actually brought the former Belgian Prime Minister as a guest. I mean,
wow, okay,
that was really rather nice. And if he can continue his form in this race at the moment, well, that would be absolutely brilliant. Murat Kuhadaroglu is the driver that's chasing him, but Laurent here turns in. Fons Skeltermar on the inside. There was almost contact between the two of them. Fons Skeltermar is also a Shell driver, but not racing in the same class as Laurent Demouse, because Laurent is considered to be an AM driver. And he is a P1 from Murat Kuhadaroglu. And in this situation, he would be wise just to let Fons go by, wouldn't he? Because it's not going to make any difference to his race. No. And indeed, that is what he's done as Fons Skeltermar goes through then with the shark's teeth for the Familia across the Kessel Racing 177 car of Fons Skeltermar. 7.5 minutes of the race remain. It's almost pitch black out there now here at the Monza circuit. And it is the first race for the European Ferrari Challenge cars this weekend. Regrettably, we've lost a few of them. Thomas O'Rourke, Rick Lovett, Alexander Nussbaumer and Alessandro Vezzoni. There is Murat Kuhadaroglu then. He is the driver that is P2 in the Shell AM classification at the moment. And he is chasing down Laurent Demouse. And just under 7 minutes of the race remaining. I have to say, James, credit to all the drivers. As we were looking at the grid and at the amount of cars that are going to be on track, I did think that it might be quite exciting for all the wrong reasons. But respect to them, they've driven it relatively well, haven't they?
Respect, yeah. The conditions are tricky, and you know, especially in these where it's getting dark, you can't really see where there's water or on the track or where there's greasy lines. It's really, really difficult. But yeah, full respect to all of them.
Murat Kuhadaroglu, who has had a number of successes this season, and it's really interesting to note this, if not his third, it's certainly his second season in the Ferrari Challenge. And what's fascinating, James, is that when you watch drivers that are of a certain age, gentleman drivers like Murat, to see how almost race by race, weekend by weekend, how their racecraft is getting much, much better. You know, you're never too old to learn, are you?
Of course not, and it's good to see, and you know, it makes it more exciting, and it's difficult to drive one of these cars quick and on the edge and to find the limit. So for someone who's not used to it, just to jump into a car which is so powerful and has got so much grip and slick tyres for the first time, things like that, it's a challenging thing.
These are a remarkable car, there's no question about that. And Murat Kuhadaroglu, who's currently P2 in the Shell AM classification. And there you can see the leader of the Shell AM class is Laurent Damouz. As I say, he will be the happiest man on the top step of the podium if it stays this way. 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Leader of the Shell classification is this man, Christophe Herney, who we saw have a pirouette earlier on as he was heading towards the grid. But in fairness, he's kept it all together during the course of the race. And leader of Trofeo Pirelli AM is the Trofeo Pirelli AM champion, Chris Froggatt, who is talking about going into a full GT campaign next season. And Niklas Nielsen, another supremely talented young racing driver for Formula Racing, who has had a stellar year and is the Trofeo Pirelli Pro champion. So Niklas Nielsen then getting past the back marking car of, I think that was the car of Claudio Schiavone. Indeed, it is Claudio Schiavone making a welcome return to the Ferrari Challenge. Good to see him back out on track once again. So the cars look and sound phenomenal, and there's something a bit special as the darkness descends at seeing the cars with the lights on. Actually, a little flutter in my heart, because it reminds me a little bit of Le Mans, James. Because to see the cars at night is something very, very special. But it takes a special kind of craft for you to be able to drive well at night as well. It's a completely different ballgame, isn't it?
It is. When I remember the first time I did it, well, 5 years ago in the GT car, I was like 8 seconds off and couldn't work out where I had to turn in, or even with the lights, couldn't work out where to brake. But all of a sudden it just comes to you, and it is a completely different way of driving because you've got hardly any vision at all.
Sure.
But sometimes it is a guessing game. Sometimes you literally guess where to turn, guess where to brake, and hope that you get away with it. Especially in places like Le Mans, where it can be pitch black.
Does the adrenaline drive a bit more? Are you even more excited at night, James?
Yeah, I like it. I like it when it's more, I shouldn't say that, but more dangerous almost. It brings the bravery into the aspect, and I do enjoy that sort of stuff. I enjoy the rain as well. A lot of drivers hate the rain.
Wow.
Yeah, I enjoy driving in tricky conditions. Not sure it's because I'm English or not, but...
It's interesting because another driver that I've spoken to that almost replicates everything you said was Ant Davidson. He's the same. You know, I think it's possibly a British thing, isn't it? So the battle for P2 is between Jens Liebhauser and Louis Pret. And Louis Pret, I don't know how he's avoided this, but Henry Hassid has just been given a 10-second time penalty for track limits. He has consistently, somewhere, we've not seen where, but Louis Pret again just shortcuts that and does it really well. But I can only assume everything you said earlier on is right, that he's still got two wheels within the white lines.
Still within the track limits.
Extraordinary. But he's still not been able to find his way past Jens Liebhauser. Lap after lap after lap he has tried.
He's pushing hard. You can see the car really moving around.
He's only got 2 and a bit minutes. It's the remainder of this lap plus one more lap for Louis Pret to be able to do it. He's flashing his lights furiously to Jens Liebhauser, who I am amazed has not been warned about not having his lights on. Louis Pret, son of Philip Pret, who's on the top step of the podium in the earlier Asia Pacific race. Is he going to be able to replicate father's performance? Well, I wouldn't think so, because I don't think there's any way in this world he's going to be able to make up the 12 seconds lead that Niklas Nielsen has. But he could be on step 2 rather than step 3, and is beginning to line up. Jens just gently weaves across there, doesn't he, to defend that line, and makes it more difficult for Louis Pret as they head into the Parabolica. But
has he gone wide? No.
Did he carry a little too much there?
I don't think so. It looks a bit deceiving. I thought he was going in too much.
Yes.
Yeah, and but it seems to look at that. Look at that power.
I love it.
Good man. Put on a show. So no, he got away with that.
It's not the quickest way round, Louis, but we love it.
Yes.
We're heading towards the Parabolica now, and we are into the final lap of this Ferrari Challenge Europe race, where Louis Pret, 234 kilometers per hour through the speed trap. Wow. He's not afraid of it, is he?
No, I don't think there's going to be much floor left on that car when he comes in.
Regrettably, it looks like it's a retirement for Manuela Gosner, who has had so much success this season, and regrettably, her race is done and dusted. So on the final lap then, Jens Liebhauser with backmarking traffic to get by. That also means that Louis Pret is going to have to get by as well. That's the Claudio Schiavone car, but they both get by it, and Jens Liebhauser is probably the hardest Jens has had to work all season long in defending that position from this hard-charging car of Louis Pret, who has provided significant entertainment for us in terms of his lines around this 5.793 kilometer Monza circuit, some of which have been really odd, but you can see how disappointed Manuela is that the race is over. It just didn't come for her this afternoon. Niklas Nielsen, who has had a stellar season, an extraordinary season, and well, where will we see him next season? Well, lots and lots of people have been watching him. I've had the privilege of talking about Niklas in single-seaters in German and Italian Formula 4 and also in tin tops, but he has found his home, in my opinion, in GT cars. And in the Ferrari Challenge, he will add yet another win to his extraordinary tally. Niklas Nielsen wins for Formula Racing with a margin of 12.9 seconds from the last lap over Jens Liebhauser, who looked like he got it really, really sideways. Wow, he does keep it in P2 ahead of Louis Pret. The quickest of the AM drivers is going to be Chris Froggatt, and he should take the AM win. Indeed, he does. Not the first one of those for him this year. Followed by Jack Brown and also Martin Nelson for Scuderia Autoropa, who should take P3 in the AMs. It'll be good to see Martin Nelson back on the podium once again. And there is Chris Froggatt. And the checkered flag continuing to fall. So Sean Hudspeth, Jack Brown, all over the line. There is Martin Nelson. Wow, what a race. And I repeat what I said earlier, with so many cars, with the light really, really going down, I think the drivers have done remarkably well to hold it all together with perhaps not more carnage than maybe I expected. Cars number 181 and 109 are being told to report immediately to race control. Now, 181 is Eric Prinot, and 109 is Ernst Kirschmeier. So whatever they've done, they're in trouble for it. And it will be a while before we see the last of the cars to take the checkered flag, because have been spread out significantly. Some cars on slick tyres, some on the wet weather tyres, and there's some delight down there from Team Zenith Sion, because Christoph Herney has won the Shell race ahead of Eric Chung and Christian Kinch. On my reckoning, that might be Christian Kinch's first podium this season, and what a podium to take here at Monza. Wow, what a race. James Collado.
Just quick, was it Grossman that started last out the pit lane?
Yes.
He's finished what, P10 from last, and set the fastest lap on the last lap. I think that's pretty impressive drive.
That doesn't surprise me. This was the Liebhauser moment.
He was pointing towards the checkered flag then, literally, wasn't he?
He did well hold on to that. You're absolutely right to pick up on that.
Yeah,
what a drive from Björn Grossman. I still don't understand, James, why all those Octane 126 cars were in the pit lane.
It could have been some technical
It's got to be,
infringement or something they did on the grid. I'm not entirely sure. I will find out, but yeah, it's unfortunate because with that sort of pace, he would have been up there with Nielsen.
Well, in fairness, he had beaten Nielsen in quali, which is unusual. In fairness, James, it's been Niklas Nielsen who's been the gun driver this season, no question about that. And whatever Björn has done, it hasn't been enough. But this man has, he's taken advantage of that situation, and he has won the race ahead of Jens Liebhauser and Louis Pret, who I've been terribly impressed with. So he gets congratulated by Francesca there down on the grid, down in Parc Fermé. And there is Jens Liebhauser, who did very well to hold on to that coming out of the Parabolica. That was an extraordinary moment. So the drivers will be hustled off to the podium, and we will have 4 podiums. It's Kinch's second podium in 2018. Thank you, Nico. He took P3 in Misano in race 2. There's a reason why people researching all this. Niklas Nielsen, Jens Liebhauser, Louis Pret, then the top 3, followed by Chris Froggatt, the best of the AM drivers. Then it was Sean Hudspeth. Jack Brown and Martin Nelson will complete the AM podium. And then the top 2 Shell drivers, Christoph Herning and Eric Chung, finished the race P8 and P9 overall. James Collado picked up on the fact that Björn Grossman from the pit lane got up to P10. Then it was David Fuminelli and Sam Smith. Christian Kinch then completes the Shell podium. John Dillon, good finish for John Dillon to be fair. Henry Hassid, von Skeltermar, Vincenzo Podoliccio. Laurent Damouz is the best of the Shell AM drivers and will be on the top step of the podium, and he'll be pretty pleased about that. Whew. I'm looking forward to the podiums now. Are you on podium presentation duty, son?
Not this one, no.
Oh, well done you. Well done you. It's funny how they got you out there in the pouring rain.
Yeah, typical.
So, the drivers will be hustled off to... just looking at the back end of Chris Froggatt here, not that I'm attracted to that at all, James, but I want to make a serious point here. During the course of the season, there has been a definite increase in Chris Froggatt's speed as his physical training has increased as well. He has lost shed loads of weight.
Yeah, do you know what? I see him round the paddock and I can see him really working with us and the engineers and the mechanics, just trying to work out how we can be faster, and I think that's a really good attitude to have. And you can see he's won the championship, and he's just won his class, so impressive job all year. And I think, did you say he's planning something different next year?
Yeah, he wouldn't confirm this afternoon when I spoke to him about it, but a full GT campaign, maybe Blancpain, maybe not. You know, he won't confirm yet, but that's probably where he will end up. Needs to look at his business schedule first of all. Here we go with the highlights of that race then, and what a race it was. There was tension all around as the lights were about to go from red to green and the ground would shake. With the 488 cars roaring across the start-finish line, Niklas Nielsen, David Fuminelli would drop back down the order because David Fuminelli, perhaps one of those drivers to choose, slicks rather than wets. Marc Genet was keen to look on and see how the drivers performed in race 1 as well. Of course, Marc Genet himself will be performing in the Ferrari show here as part of Finale Mondiale on Sunday. Eric Prenot's partner Monica looked on with a degree of trepidation, and Jens Liebhauser would spend nearly the entire race defending from Louis Pret, who did a fantastic job in terms of trying to chase to him. Christian Overgaard doing his level best to avoid Manuel Agostino. I think there was a touch in the end between the two of them. And Christian Overgaard went from tarmac to curbs to grass and then pirouetting the car around. So there would be no podium for Christian Overgaard in this particular race. Björn Grossman, who had to start from the pit lane, almost unseen by us, was driving the race of his life to finish P10 at the race end overall. And Sam Smith, returning to the Ferrari Challenge after several events away, was also trying to do good. The race of the year for this man, the Belgian Laurent Damouz, who will be on the top step of the podium, as will Niclas Nielsen for his class. He takes yet another Trofeo Pirelli Pro win, taking the AM win once again. Chris Froggatt in car number 93. Christoph Herney, well, he would celebrate as much as his wife and engineers as well. And Niclas Nielsen was pretty pleased with his day's work here at Monza. Von Skelterman, the Kessel Racing driver, we can see there in Parc Fermé. And podium being readied. And there the driver coach, Eddie Cheever. Of course, a number of these drivers, James, have driver coaches, don't they, that really guide them, because, again, like team principal, and we were talking about Philip Barron earlier, you know, as a driver coach, you were a successful racing driver. That's why you become a coach, I guess.
Yeah.
And able to pass on all that experience and knowledge.
Exactly, and they come to us and they ask for data, like Chris does that. He asks for data, he likes comparisons, and you can kind of focus on where he needs to be improving the most. So, yeah.
I find it quite fascinating. I creep into the garages sometimes, and you see the driver and the coach, and they are in minute detail going over that data. That's what you do as a professional. I understand that, because you are a top racing driver, and that is the little difference that can be made, isn't it, when you understand that and you can act upon it.
Exactly, and it's difficult but possible to do.
This is a very special podium, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just the way it's situated.
It's the best one ever. It's incredible. You see, you know, all the Formula One, especially, get all the fans and things coming on, and you get to overlook. I'm lucky enough to have stood on it. You get to literally overlook over the track. It's fantastic. So it'd be a great viewing point.
So the anthem plays out for Niclas Nielsen then, and Jens Liebhauser and Louis Pret on the podium as well. And here comes the trophy presentations. And first to receive their trophy is Louis Pret. From this camera angle, it was a job to see who that was. I don't know whether it was Sam Bird that made that trophy presentation.
Yeah, you can't really tell.
We need a top light on that camera, if I could say that. And
there's Tony.
Yeah, there's Tony Verlander, who, like you, is going to be joining us on the air across the course of the weekend. And I have to say, like you, I get on well with Tony Verlander, and he's always good fun in the commentary booth for some of the things he says, which is perhaps a little braver than you, James.
Yeah, typically Finnish, yes. And he's good friends with Kimi, so.
So, the only trophy left to present, as Francesca has received the trophy for Formula Racing, is, of course, the Trofeo Pirelli trophy, which is presented to Niclas Nielsen. And there, they will all get together on the top step of the podium. Stephen Rowe there from Pirelli, head of R&D. Interesting pose there. Formula Racing as a team have had a hugely successful year, that's for sure. And never tire of seeing those. I have to say, we've been having this conversation across all three races, James, and I don't know whether you do this when you win races, which of course is, you know, the regular occasion. It's this bottle opening, and I'm really disappointed because Ferrari have taken the tops out of the champagne, because I like it when, and I think Lando Norris is the best at this.
Yeah.
You know, where you
slams it on the floor.
the damn thing.
Yeah.
And then,
I was in, where was it, Abu Dhabi, and I tried to do it thinking I had a bottle of champagne. And
it was rose
banging
water.
Banging it, and it was rose water. Oh, this time, never doing that again.
Oh, brilliant. Here is the ham classification. Chris Froggatt, Jack Brown and Martin Nelson we're going to see on the Trofeo Pirelli AM podium. Yes, don't do this with cordial. It's not going to work. Chris Froggatt then on 253 points. That is an indicator of how dominant he's been,
domination,
James.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
He really, and it's only his second season of motor racing.
Well, it's incredible. I think he's done a really, really good job.
You know, went off to Dubai in the winter of 2016 to get enough points to be able to race in the Ferrari Challenge.
Fantastic, yeah.
2017, very much a learning year. 2018, nailed it.
Nailed it.
Here comes Martin Nelson then for Scuderia Autoropa. Oh, that's a better camera angle, to be fair. We can actually identify who we've got. Jack Brown is there. And here comes Chris Froggatt then. You see, he looks lean and keen now, doesn't he?
He does.
National anthem for Chris Froggatt. And as the anthem plays out then, here comes the trophy presentations now on the podium. Ferrari GB represented there by FF Corsa, of course, and here comes Sam Bird once again to make the trophy presentation to Martin Nelson, official Ferrari GT driver. Sam offers his congratulations to Chris Froggatt and to Jack as well. Miguel Molina. And Tony Verlander then making the trophy presentation to Chris Froggatt. And Sam once again making the trophy presentation to the team. And Stephen Rowe from Pirelli to make that presentation to our race winner, Chris Froggatt. Now, of these three, Nelson will be the quickest with the champers, James.
Okay.
Well, it was close. So, super slow-mo of the top man for that podium, Chris Froggatt for Ferrari GB. Another stellar year like Niklas Nielsen that Chris Froggatt has had. Extraordinary success and very, very richly deserved that he has taken the championship with some rounds to spare. So, for Shell, we will see Christoph Herney, Eric Chung and Christian Kinch on the podium. And it's not the first one for Christoph Herney. I think it might be his second top step of the podium. Eric Chung, P2, and Christian Kinch, we've already established that it's his second podium of the season. He's only done a part season this year as well, so he'll be jolly pleased to be up there once again. And in the Drivers' Championship, Christoph Herney on 167.5 points, Eric Chung on 154, with Manuel Agosna in P3. Well, we can hear Michele Mambrelli then bringing the drivers out for the third of the podiums. Christian Kinch. I could tell you a story about Christian, but on air I would be told off, so I'm not going to. And there's Christoph Herney, who was the oldest driver ever to race a GP2 car.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. He was in his 40s.
Wow.
A little bit of trivia for you to use at a motorsport dinner party. So the anthem plays out for Christoph Herney. Sam Bird once again to make the trophy presentation to Christian Kinch. He'll be really, really pleased with that. Eric Chung, who is such a Ferrari enthusiast and, of course, has not only his challenge campaign, but also has one of the F1 Clienti cars as well. That must be something very special.
Yeah, very jealous.
Yeah, me too, me too. I was going to say I wouldn't get in one, but Christian Overgaard has got one. So there is
fine.
There is possibilities I wouldn't be able to drive it, but and there the Team Zenith Scion receive their trophy as well.
Yeah, he's got the right idea. Stay behind them. Keep the suit dry.
Yeah. Super slow-mo of Christoph Herney then. One podium to do, and that is for the Shell Am drivers. And Laurent Damouz going to be on the top step. P2, Murat Kuhadaroglu. P3, Dusan Palkra. Neither Murat nor Dusan are strangers to the podium. But for Laurent Damouz, who I was having a chat with him at lunch today, and he said, you know what, Dave, I really feel that I've made a step up, and I'm so hoping that I will get a podium this weekend. He's done the best that he could do, hasn't he? You don't get any better than a race win.
You don't. It's a great result.
And he will be so pleased with that. He really will. I'm delighted for him. So there, Murat Kuhadaroglu on 188 points. Alexander Nussbaumer on 164.5. And Ingvar Madsen on a total of 159 points. So Michele Mambrelli then brings them out for the final podium of the Ferrari Challenge Europe race. Dusan Palkra, there's Murat Kuhadaroglu, and this man will be absolutely thrilled. Laurent Damouz, his first race win, very well deserved. I think he's quite affected up there, James. I mean, you must still remember your first win.
Yeah.
Dim and distant, I accept.
It was, what was the year? 2008.
Yep.
Snetterton as a rookie in Formula Renault.
See, I think it was a year later that I met you for the first time in F3. Did you go from Renault to F3?
I did 2 years in Renault, and then it went to F3.
Okay. Well, there we have it then, the podium celebrations. Oh, hang on a minute. We've still got a Pirelli trophy to be dished out here. Oh, no, it's the team still. Sorry, we're ahead of schedule, Sam. Only quick on the track, but quick on the podium as well. Laurent is posing for the photographs there. I think that's Anthony Cheshire from FF Corsa that's on the podium as well. Teams that engineer the Ferrari GP cars for Laurent Damouz. And here comes the champagne. James Collado, thanks so much. We will hear more from you across the weekend, I hope.
Thank you very much.
And that's it from us. Finale Mondiale. Make sure you join us tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.